Welcome to episode 3 of ARK Reborn. I'm Vadd. We are on the center map and we are making our way through the beginning of this mod. The center is kind of a odd map. It was actually one of the first, if not the first, modded map to come into the game, so it's been around a long time. It's undergone some changes. You know, when it first came out, it didn't have the redwood biome kind of on that south edge. Right now, I think it's to our left. But the map's a cool map. It's got some neat features. I don't know how much time we'll really spend exploring the map. It feels really small. And maybe we're just spoiled because a lot of the maps that came after the center map are so large. But as far as the map goes, I really enjoy the weather features. It rains every day, probably twice. And not only does it rain twice every day, but there's a huge lightning storm, which is kind of fun. Living up here on the Sky Islands, that's right, on our Sky Captain base, we basically are blinded by the sun. It is so bright up here all the time, nothing blocks anything, and we're gonna need to put a roof on here. I kind of just wanted to live free and clear and enjoy the night sky and the rain. And you know what, it's always raining, so we never actually need to drink any water, which is great. Let's get a closer look at this workbench. I know we put it down last episode, but it was kind of at a bad angle. Check it out. There's cool stuff on top. It's got some nice colors. We're really going to spend a lot of time on this workbench. As we move through the early game, we want to try and put down this AG Reborn forge. This is about, I guess it's about the same cost as a regular forge, but it's a little smaller, it's a little more efficient in that sense, so it's definitely worth putting down and definitely one of the goals we have as we move through this mod. I do like the center map, I really do. It's just kind of an odd map. It feels small and I can see the whole thing from the top of my sky base. That just kind of brings me joy. It does have an underground cave system. I've done some exploring in it, and I'm not sure we're going to do any exploring in it in this series. There's not a lot of things that spawn in there. There's either overspawn or just empty zones. I don't think that's as much an issue with the mod, so much as it is just with the map itself. Just something to know that it does have this underground cave system. There's a couple areas it links, but for this series, I think we're going to stay out of the caves and most of the ruins. One thing you want to be working on in ARK Reborn here. We've talked about the tiers. We've talked about in the early game we want to get our prime cloth and then prime hide armor. We want to work on some prime tools. There's actually a whole bunch of dinos in ARK Reborn, a whole bunch of beasts we want to go catch, tame, and bring back and make our friends. Oh hey, see this river that kind of runs through like the main meat of the center map? We're about to pass over those ruins I mentioned. That would be probably a pretty good base spot. It's super centralized, and since it's a ruin structure, you know, it's a part of the map, dinos can't just destroy it. Right here, right under us right now, that's a good spot for a base. Maybe we'll build an outpost there, but if you're on this server or you're playing by yourself, that is a good spot if you don't want to have those kind of wild floating islands. Hey, there's a whole bunch of tames in this mod that passively generate things, and they're really hard to get. We're using the creature finder mod, and you can see here that we're trying to get an Easter bunny if you read those tiny little letters, and we've been playing around 20 hours at this point and we haven't got a single Easter bunny to spawn in. Finally one spawned and it died, and we finally found another, so this is our moment to tame the Easter bunny, if only they would live long enough for us to tame. This is a pretty reoccurring problem. Most of these tames we actually need to be taming kind of at this point die off just way too quick, and we spend an absolutely massive amount of time just trying to get our hands on those tames that are going to passively generate resources for us that we really kind of need and don't need. Technically we could just go and farm everything we want, but it's just not very efficient. It's worth even losing the time to go out and find these tames, because having those tames generating resources for you is just more time efficient. I know we're losing the time every time we go out to find one. A tame fails, it dies, we lose the resources. There's a time investment up front, but if we can get a breeding pair of some of these passively generating resource tames, it's really going to be a lot more efficient long term. In the early game we went around and got some of those supply drops, so we're just using the kibble the supply drops gave us, which is awesome. Most all of these seem to be passive tames. We'll keep our eye on some of them as we progress through the mod, but we got our hands on an elite Dodo. We talked about this in the first 2 episodes. There's this elite tier, and notice that it looks visually different. You see the sparkles around it, kind of these diamond-shaped white sparkles? That's a clue that this is an elite tier. If that wasn't enough of a clue, you could just read the name floating on top of the head. It says elite tier, ignoring the big floating name. I like that visually you can see what the tame is without having to get up close and read the name. Those sparkles are the elite tier. When ARK first came out, in order to breed your dinos, you just put them on wander. So maybe you built little cute pens. You can ride them, by the way. I mean, they're pretty fast. They've got a bite attack. They can jump. I mean, they're kind of fun. I'm not sure what we would fight with them, but you could, I guess, try. I wouldn't get too crazy. But hey, when ARK first came out, you didn't have breeding. You just had wandering. So we need them on wander in order to get them passively generating stuff. Thankfully, S Plus is here to save the day once again. And we can put them on that nice hitching post and put them on wander, and they'll stay there nice and hitched. They'll ignore group whistles, and they'll be passively generating resources. There it is, some ancient hide. With this elite Dodo making us ancient hide, we could also have gone out and fought some of the prime alphas or some of the other creatures in the mod to get that ancient hide, or we could have gone to our workbench and spent our resources to transition some of the vanilla resources into ancient hide, but it's just more efficient to get that elite Dodo working on the ancient hide for us. And once we get a breeding pair, we get a couple of them going, it's going to kind of solve our ancient hide problems. We're here building on a little bit of a farming area for some of these passive generation dinos. There's actually quite a lot of them in this mod. We have that elite Dodo, which makes the ancient hides. There's an elite Zom Dodo, which will make ancient chitin. So that's another creature that when we're out and about, we want to try to go out and get our hands on. There's that Easter Bunny we were trying to get earlier as well. The Easter Bunny will passively generate ancient pelt and ancient polymer. Then you've got a Shinehorn, Glowtail, and Featherlight. Each of those will passively generate gems. In addition to all those tames, there's a Golden Dodo, which will passively generate some healing potions. You've got a Bulb Dog, which will passively generate congealed gas, so fuel. And then you've got the Biotoxin Jug Dog for Biotoxin. Hey, we added to the Sky Captain base these small islands and a tiny island. That's where we're building this kind of farming building. I'm trying to keep you up to speed with kind of where we are so you can figure out when we're in a building which one we're in. Look, this is a farming building. We should have really put these down a little bit closer. I was going to put like big floating bridges in between the islands. I just thought that would be kind of fun and light them up, but it turned out to be a small nightmare to get things to work like that. It was just better to put them kind of close, and then I used ramps. It was a small nightmare. Bottom line, it's cool. We're out here in the sky base, but it's way too bright, so we're using this S Plus glass so we can still enjoy our view but not blow our eyes out. And I'm always doing double doors too high. You don't need to do this, I just like to do this. With the Alpha Dodo, it didn't quite fit through my single door. Maybe my character is just way too stupidly tall, but with the double doors I can probably ride it through here. We'll find out in a minute. With the S Plus, we can just change the transparency, and then we can change the model so we don't have these goofy looking single metal panes. The building's 3 high, and it's kind of fun. I hope you're enjoying this season's transition from living in a cave to living in the sky base. Having 10 different dinos that can passively generate resources is actually kind of a big number. It actually gives us a pretty good goal to be working on. You know, get off the ground, get yourself some prime cloth and then prime hide armor. Work on your indestructible prime tools. Get your, ARK Reborn workbench down, and then get a flyer, and then start working on some of these prime generating tools. I really hope that this is helping you get a better understanding of how to get started in this mod. I hope that you're enjoying my journey into this mod. I know I'm having fun trying something new. I've not done this mod before, and if you have any great tips for me, I am always open to any and all suggestions. Don't forget, once you move your farm animals around, to set them back on wander so that they are generating resources for you. We are in episode 3, but it is not the end. Hey, we put down some collector eggs, and they're just going to passively pick up stuff and some feeding troughs to feed them. We'll talk a little bit more about what these beasts are going to eat in next episode, episode 4. I really hope you like it's kind of a modern vibe to this structure. I hope you like the floating islands. I hope you're enjoying this series, and I hope you share it with a friend. I'm Vadd, here on the Sky Captain base in the center map. Until next time. If you learned something or enjoyed this video, share it with a friend. If you are new here, please consider subscribing. If you have joined and enjoyed before, welcome back. If you would like to see more quality content, please consider joining me in supporting the channel through Patreon and utilizing the affiliated links. Thanks!